So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the different pathways into pharmaceutical industry. And the reason I'm making this video is because I've been getting a lot of people asking me for different ways to break into industry, whether that be students looking to get into industry as well as graduating pharmacists or people that have been working for a number of years. I felt like when I was in school, I didn't get a lot of formal instruction or education on industry. So this is just going to be my own opinion on some of the ways you can break into industry. The first one we're going to talk about is internships. I did not know anything about internships until after I already graduated from school. And I noticed that a lot of people that had fellowships had internships as well. So internships are a very good experience because they allow you to work for the entire summer and you basically get to work for the company. And when you're working for the company, you get to work on tasks that are very applicable to tasks that are useful for their business. So not only working on like a very good project or different tasks for the company, you're also they have the ability to like network with people in that company. I think one of the cool things also about internships is that you get interviewing experience because usually when you apply for internships, you're also doing the talking to the recruiter, you're talking to the hiring manager, you're talking to like the team or like a higher level executive, which is very similar to like a fellowship or looking for a job where you do multiple rounds of interviews. If you're able to even go through the interview process for internships, it will be very useful skill set. And if you actually get a job for the internship, you can also use that to translate that into future experiences when you're applying for new jobs. So the next one that's going to be a really good experience to break into industry is going to be what I call externships, but really they're like API rotations, so advanced pharmacy practice experiences. And these are usually around like 4 to 6 weeks. I've seen some companies or some schools do 8 weeks, but mine are usually like 4 to 6 weeks. And I actually had the ability to do 2 externships or API rotations in industry. One was for medical writing and one was in medical affairs, which are very applicable for pharmacists to go into. And that experience is very good for me because I got to improve my written and verbal communication. I was able to like evaluate medical literature, especially like when you're doing like clinical research trials. I got to like also evaluate like the entire landscape of a disease state. And then I was able to actually present that information to the entire company virtually, which is pretty cool. And then on top of that, I got to shadow a pharmacist because usually that experience is with a school that has to have like a pharmacist person like guiding you along the way. So I got to work with a pharmacist and see how they interact in industry. And on top of that, I got to look at different departments in the actual company and see what they do to provide value to the business. So those experiences are very good for me. And I highly suggest if you're going to get that kind of experience, try to get that early on, especially before the fellowship season starts around like the end of the year. So try to get your experience as early as possible so you can use that as an experience into your fellowship process. Or unfortunately, if you don't get that opportunity, then you can still use it to leverage saying that you're interested in this career path and you signed up, but obviously you were unfortunate to get it at that time frame. But overall, I think it's an amazing experience just to have people, seeing people that are non-traditional in pharmacy is a very unique experience, and you should definitely try to get one if you can. The next one is going to be like fellowships and residencies. So I've seen recently like drug information residencies, which look very applicable to like a drug information specialist role, and you're actually working for like a hospital. And also I've seen like pharmacists that work in the hospital do like a similar role where like they work with the clinical trials for the hospital, for the companies itself. So you work with a lot of different companies for the patient population that you're working with. So there's residency in that. Usually a residency is like 1 year, and then you can choose to do another year to actually specialize in a certain therapeutic area. But for fellowships are usually around 2 years, and I've seen some now that are trying to do like 1 year fellowships if they're very specific for the exact job you should be applying for later on. So with the fellowships, I'm actually going to do a quick little breakdown of different functional areas for each of the roles that I've seen some pharmacists break into, because obviously they're the most popular right now. But I'm also going to actually talk about some of the direct industry roles you can apply within the functional areas to make it a little bit easier to look into later on. So the first one is going to be medical affairs. So medical affairs is just providing clinical information and relaying the information back to different stakeholders, whether that be like a doctor, physician, nurse practitioner, nurse, physician assistant, a key opinion leader, or other stakeholders. So a lot of these roles are very popular for pharmacists because it just makes the most sense, I think, and it's just very applicable to what we do on a day-to-day basis, being the like health experts. And usually this role is like usually like a medical communication, medical education, medical information, or like a MSL or medical science liaison is a very attractive role a lot of people like to go for. This role, I think it's very important that you kind of have that presentation and that communication ability and also the ability to analyze clinical literature very well. So I see a lot of people that go into the MSL role usually have a lot of clinical experience, like they have residencies done under their belt, or they usually go for like a certain therapeutic area. So if you have a expertise in a certain therapeutic area that the company is looking for, you're going to be a very attractive candidate for them in the future. So the next one is going to be regulatory affairs. So this is the interface between like business and the regulations based on the country you're in. So it could be like the FDA for the US, obviously, the European agencies as well as other countries. And you're really responsible for helping with submissions for getting the drug actually approved, or it could be like submissions to even do the clinical trials. So there's a lot of different aspects in that. I think this aspect or this functional area, it'd be a lot better to have a fellowship in this one because it's just very tough to learn all the regulations that are going on. But I've seen some people get a job in regulatory affairs, so you never know. And then on top of this, one of the cool things I've seen also is like advertisement and promotion. So all the commercials that you see or the marketing materials that are being done, they have to actually go through regulatory to make sure that they're compliant with what's actually given out by the package insert or by the regulatory team to make sure like they're actually abiding by the rules of the FDA or other agencies. So the next functional area is going to be clinical development. So clinical development is mostly about the research and development side of things, which is the clinical trials process. So if you're going for this role, you should really understand the drug development process. So that includes like the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and even like pre-discovery and preclinical if you're interested in that. And it's really making sure you understand the investigational drugs, which are the drugs before they get approved, the currently approved drugs, and new indications. So you can have a drug that's already been approved and going for new indications, which is very popular now in the oncology space. A lot of people that go for this role usually try to go for like a research scientist. I see a lot of people now going into clinical research associate, or they can work for like a CRO, a clinical research organization like I work for right now. So the next function area we're going to talk about is going to be pharmacovigilance or drug safety, which is about the assessment, the detection of adverse events that are happening, and it's how you report that information to like the FDA or like European agencies. And in pharmacovigilance, sometimes they decide upon whether or not they should add more information to the package insert if they notice a very significant adverse event happening that wasn't initially in there. After like approval, then they can look at like post-marketing and say like we should actually add this in later on to make sure that patients are aware, and it's usually regulated, so it's very important that they do add it if it's very significant. One of the cool things about this route, I think this is a good route for pharmacists to go into as well because we are interested in drug safety. So pharmacovigilance scientists would be a good role to apply for. And I think this is a good role also if you are a clinical person. So if you have the residency or you're working in a hospital, once again, this role is very useful to have that kind of experience in that area. So next we have the commercial side of things. So this is basically tying together the medicine and the business side. This is one of the coolest things I've seen is that like pharmacists being involved in just like regulatory, because like obviously medical affairs make sense. Like MSLs are like a very attractive role for pharmacists. But like seeing more and more pharmacists in like the marketing spaces, the regulatory spaces has just been very interesting. So here we have like marketing where like you use like package inserts to create promotional materials, market research, which is studying the customer and studying the strategies that you can add to the business to help resolve the issues that are in place. Market access, which is mostly involved with talking to the payers, which are the insurance companies. and talking about like reimbursement policies and pricing economics. Business development, which is also a very cool role for pharmacists to be into, because this is like the mergers and acquisitions. So like you see like these like billion-dollar mergers happening between different companies, or like joint ventures with like educational facilities to learn more research. And then like competitive intelligence, which is like analyzing the entire competitive landscape and seeing the competitors' pipeline, what they're working on, what's like the most profitable things for them, and see how we can add that to our own business. So some of the roles that you can apply for in commercial, which I think are very interesting as well, are like sales reps. This is like kind of similar to medical science liaisons, but medical science liaison can talk a little bit more about the actual drug itself. The sales reps are just there to mostly just talk about the information that's on the package. So the MSLs can talk more about the science outside of the package insert, but the sales reps are kind of forced into that, and then they can refer the key opinion leader, doctor, to a medical affairs specialist or MSL if they want to talk more about it. But on top of that, you also get to go to pharmacies. You see like drug reps coming through, and as well as like payers to talk to them about the drug that you're actually representing. There's also a life science consultant, which I've seen pharmacists go into, which is providing your guidance and expertise on a lot of different things. So it could be like the commercial strategy of what's a very useful product in this space. You could also be helping out with like regulatory, or like helping with market access, because you're working with a lot of different clients at once. So you're trying to make sure you're adding on the amount of patients that can be utilized in this patient population. So another role is going to be life science consultants. And here you're actually providing like your expertise or guidance from working with a lot of different clients, and you're helping them with their maybe commercial strategy, maybe with regulatory, like which areas to apply for submission first in, or you could be helping them with like market access to help them with increasing the amount of patients that can be utilizing your drug that can help the overall patient population overall. And this leads into like market access analysts, where you can talk to insurance formularies and actually see like if this insurance company has a lot of patients with a certain disease state, you know, these drugs could be utilized in this patient population, and you can actually save money by having some kind of cost economic structure in place. This also leads into like health economics and outcomes research, where you provide the data for return on investment, once again, to the payers, which are the insurance companies. This role right here, the health economics and outcomes research, I think this is also a very interesting career path, because usually pharmacists are involved with insurance, and we are very good with learning about how insurance works, and we know like how to like get things covered. And so this would be a good role to apply for. On top of that, if you actually have like a managed care residency, or you work very closely or with an insurance company, this would be a really great role to apply for in industry. So I pretty much say this in every single video, but there's a number of ways you can actually get experience in the biopharmaceutical industry. And one of the ways you can get this kind of experience is by actually working for a company that the biopharmaceutical clients outsource their work to. So one of the main ones is like a healthcare agency, or like I think of them as like healthcare, like medical information agencies sometimes I think of them as, because what they do is a lot of the companies, they do like a lot of the medical affairs or the marketing part of things. They outsource the work to these healthcare agencies, and this is like a role that's very similar to like medical communication or like marketing or sales. And I'll put some companies right here for you guys. But these are good companies to work for, because you're working for a lot of different clients and you're doing a lot of different things. So you can be working in multiple different disease states or therapeutic areas, but you also get to work with a lot of different clients. So it'd be very interesting to have this kind of experience. And the reason I think these companies are so interesting is because you're able to work with a lot of different clients, and you can work with a lot of different disease states or therapeutic areas. So you get a lot of experience for just working at a smaller company, but you're just doing the same exact work, if not doing the actual work sometimes I like to call it, which is very interesting for medical communications or marketing or sales for these companies. The next one is going to be like a CRO, clinical research organization, very similar to my job now. So a lot of companies, they outsource their work to do the clinical trial research. And this just makes sense because it's very hard for some companies to do their trials in so many different countries and hire so many employees. So they'll outsource the work to a CRO to do the work for them. And the CRO has expertise usually because of the fact that they've been doing this for so long. They have the ability to work with a lot of different clients and vendors as well. So it's just sometimes a lot easier to work with a CRO than to do it yourself. So on top of that, now CROs also do a lot more work on top of that. So they can actually provide medical affairs services. They can apply regulatory services for like submitting the document in different countries. And sometimes they even help them with like commercialization now, like drug launch excellence, they do that with. So there's a lot of different things that CROs can do. And they even help us sometimes with like pharmacovigilance and drug safety now. So it's another place to look at if you're interested in getting experience in the pharmaceutical industry. And the last one is going to be consulting. So this is more the commercial side of things. Life science consultants, they help a lot with tying together the drug launch excellence. So once the drug is approved, making sure the drug is profitable in as many regions as possible so the company can get as much money as possible for the drug before it becomes put on generic. As well as like they have a lot of market research with like physicians and like payers or insurance companies. So it's just very important to like look at these companies because each one of them works for a lot of, if you work with one of these companies, you're doing a lot more work because you're working with different clients in different therapeutic areas, but you're actually getting a lot of experience as well. So lastly, I just want to say like these are the good places to look at if you're looking for a job in industry. The first place is definitely the company website. Like you have the news releases, you have the job descriptions in place there. You can actually also look at the company values to understand what's going on, as well as their pipeline to see what are the drugs that are coming up in their portfolio. On top of that, like LinkedIn is the end-all be-all resource you need to have. It's very good for building your brand in terms of like learning about like showing other people who you are as a person, what you're interested in. And then on top of that, like it's very good for networking. So learning about people that are pharmacists in this field that are looking for, that already have jobs in these certain companies or these certain functional areas. And it's a very underrated resource. And then lastly, I would say like the recruiters or HR professionals, like these people can connect you with the actual hiring managers. They can show your resume off to people and talk about you in a positive light before you even get to the interview process, and show you exactly how to actually like interview better sometimes. Some of them actually help you with showing you what the company is looking for and what are the skill sets you need to have that the hiring manager is wanting so that you can connect you very well with your value proposition in the future. So this video was just a quick little breakdown of some of the ways you can enter industry, from internships, fellowships, to actually getting a job in industry. And on top of that, I just wanted to make this video because a lot of people have been asking like some ways you can break into industry. But obviously, like in my opinion, there's just like so many different roles that I've seen pharmacists get into industry with that like it's impossible to put in one video. So my job with this video was just to like give you guys a good little synopsis or little taste of things you can look into so that you can actually go into your own research and figure out what area you're interested in or what area you think you would be well suited to be in to have a long, successful career in the pharmaceutical industry. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Bye.